All right. So, how do you control what people think about you? Well, the short answer to that and the easy answer is that you can't and you don't control what people think about you. People will set their resolve regarding who they feel you are based upon their experience with you. And sometimes what they experience with you has nothing to do with you, and it's not an accurate description or depiction of who you are, but it is based upon sometimes their own insecurities and their own issues that they need to work on within their own lives. I think about my great aunt Alice, who passed, and she worked for years, I mean decades and decades, at a government assistance office, I believe, and I believe it was somewhere around East Orange, New Jersey. And I heard a story about how there was a younger gentleman who came in, and he asked her one day, he said, do you mind if I call you mama? And she responded and she said, baby, I don't care what you call me, just as long as you call me. And why is that important? Because I think that what that really means is it doesn't matter what you call me. What really matters is what I answer to. And I am not going to let your opinion of me, your perception of me, and even sometimes your experience of me determine who I am and cause me to change the way that I feel about myself. It is true that sometimes there are things that you want to be aware of and you will care about people's experience with you, because there may be certain things that they will experience as far as you, how you operate, your behavior, your personality, that you will want to change about yourself. But do not build a house there in other people's opinions. Perhaps if you want to just pitch a tent, don't build a house where you're only supposed to pitch a tent. And because sometimes people's experiences, again, it's just based upon their own insecurities. It's based upon their own issues. One of the things that I always have to do, even specifically as far as, communication with people, is that I understand the fact that I've been depressed before, that I have been in places before where I felt totally lonely, that I felt like I was a failure, that I was doing everything wrong, that I missed my opportunities, that my season has passed, and that grace had been lifted off of my life, perhaps because I wasn't as busy as I used to be, or because of I was not living up to the standards of busyness, if that makes any sense at all, that other people thought I should be at. What I had to develop and what I had to see is that would trigger something in me that would cause me to think less of myself, that would cause me to feel as though I was a failure and that I was doing something wrong. So knowing that trigger, what it is people's perception or people's opinion of me, of my life and what I do. So one of the things that you will never hear me say, unless I'm telling a joke, is that, or unless I'm trying to avoid somebody, is that I'm busy. It's not something that I say about myself, because I don't consider myself busy. I consider myself to be a person who has quite a bit going on around them, and I could be busy, but for the most part, I'm not busy. There are just a lot of areas that God is using me to have impact in, and cause impact and be influential in. But I will say that I have a lot of things going on, but I balance very well. So one of the things I do not allow, as far as people's opinion, I don't allow people to tell me that I'm busy. And to go back to that point, oftentimes people have said, oh, well, I know you're very busy. And them saying that was based off of their own insecurity, was based off of their own not wanting to be rejected. That thing with rejection, man, it is so deep. And sometimes it is as sneaky as a snake. But sometimes your words and people's words to you and the words that they use to describe you is just based upon the fact that they don't want to be rejected, or based upon their own insecurities, their own loneliness, based upon certain things that they're facing in their own lives. So that's why we have to be so careful. So when those things happen, I will politely correct someone and say, well, no, I'm actually not busy. Sometimes what people see on the outside is not really what's going on. They see me in one state one day, and 2 days later they'll see me on a totally different coast. But I balance very well. I'm a firm believer in naps. Here's the thing. The reason why I use that analogy was because I do not let what people see, what they feel, what they think, their experience of me. And even in an age where everyone is a prophet, where everyone bases their opinions off of energy. Well, this is just, what I felt from their energy. Listen, everyone will always have those opinions. Everyone will always base something off of energy. Everyone thinks that they are, a genie or a musician, not a genie or a magician, and or a palm reader. And again, some people just think that I'm just so spiritually minded, I'm so connected with heaven that I just know who you are. Well, no, sometimes it's not God, sometimes it's just you, and sometimes you are wrong. So what matters is that we don't allow other people to determine who you are or cause you to think differently of yourself than what God thinks of you, and what you think of you, and what you think of you is what God thinks of you. So I do not have time, you and I do not have time, you and I are wiser to fall into traps to allow someone else to change our opinion of ourselves. One of the things that the enemy wants to do, he wants to keep us ignorant. And because we're not ignorant of the enemy's devices, and it goes right back to what I said. I remember a time when I was busy, and then when that wasn't happening and people would tell me that I was busy, what that would make me feel like is, wow, well, I'm not busy. I don't have a lot of things going on. I'm doing something wrong. I'm failing. I'm a failure. No, listen. I am not ignorant of how the enemy got me before. So now I just shut it off. I know how to control it. I know how to handle it. And that just be that. What matters most is not what other people think about you, but it's what God thinks about you, and it's what you think about you. So again, to answer the question, how can you control what people think about you? You can't. You can control part of their experience with you, and you be intentional with it. And it's kind of like words. When I'm speaking with people, I am thinking about the words that come out of my mouth before they come out. Well, first of all, I pray that the words that come out of my mouth, I always put God at the beginning of the thought. But then before the words come out of my mouth, I am thinking about, well, what do I want to communicate? What do I want them to feel from the words that I use? Two, as it's coming out of my mouth, it's like a tape recorder. I'm replaying what I'm saying as those words are coming out. And then three, after the words have come out of my mouth, I'm thinking about, okay, how else could they have taken what I said? Was the purpose of what I communicated or what I wanted to communicate, was that achieved? If not, let me now rework this thing. And sometimes that's how intentional we have to be as far as our interaction with people, our behavior, some of our personality quirks, that I have to be mindful of the possibility of what people may experience with me. That's the only part that we can literally put our foot in and somewhat control. But ultimately, it's up to the person. It's up to perhaps the conversation. It's up to their connection with the boardroom of heaven to find out who you are. It's up to, again, your relationship with the person. But really, it's up to the person. And again, someone's opinion of you does not really determine who you are. Sometimes it's not you, it's them. So you matter to you, your opinion matters to you, how God views you, God's opinion of you, that is what matters the most. Stop trying to control how people experience you and what they think about you. You'll get so much peace. I have.